Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only podcast produced by three winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. Of course, that is the Check Engine Podcast, streaming through anchor.fm/Check Engine Podcast, or anywhere else you can find podcasts to be streamed. My name is Nick. With me, as always, my two compadres, Tristan behind the producer's stand, and Andrew over here to my left. What's going on, fellas?
Podcast recording.
Podcast recording. You know, now I'm
Captain Obvious strikes again.
Well, now I'm starting to think, like...
Tristan's not deep thought, TM.
Tristan's very shallow thoughts.
Well, I've been thinking, okay, so you said we're now the 345th ranked car podcast in Australia.
Good day, Australia.
Huge news for us.
Thank you so much.
Is there really not one other podcast created by three other winners of the IMSA Spirit of the Race Award?
Well, how many in Australia? How many Australians have been to an IMSA race?
No.
It's an
American. Anywhere in the world.
I don't know.
Are we going to have to fight them?
Yeah.
All right.
We should probably trademark
I'm
it.
all about joining forces.
Super
Make
podcast.
our own network.
Sorry, you need to be an award winner to be in
Spirit
this
of the
network.
Race Network.
The Spirit of the Race Network. I'm just wondering how far that chart goes. If we actually charted at 345.
I don't know.
Like, do they just let everybody in? Is it a participation trophy thing?
We're going to climb that ladder. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we're actually on the chart. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
As you can tell, we're not professionals. We don't work for any car companies. We don't work for any race teams or any entities of that nature, no media outlets. We're just three guys who love talking about cars and talking about motorsports, and we want to talk about that stuff with you. And despite the fact that we're not pros, you're listening anyway, which is awesome. But hopefully you're not just listening. We want to hear some feedback from you as well. So reach out to us. We got a website, like professionals do.
Masquerading as professional.
Yeah, that's right. It's checkenginepodcast.com. There we have a direct email. It is inbox@checkenginepodcast.com. Or, of course, you can find us on the socials. We tweet, we gram, and we Facebook stuff. So you can find us on all three of those. Facebook is Check Engine Podcast. Twitter and Insta are @CheckEnginePod. So please go give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. We want to hear from you.
You can watch me Twitter fight auto journalists.
It's actually quite entertaining.
I come across our own tweets on my own Twitter feed occasionally, and it's fun to watch.
Some of them actually respond, and I always get scared.
Because we're not pros.
That's right.
You're actually arguing with a pro. That's all right. We can stick our nose in every now and again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're really, really into what we're doing, folks, you can reach out and support us as well. You can support us through anchor.fm, or we also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/checkenginepodcast. Every cent that you throw in there will be turned around to make this a better, more entertaining podcast and media entity for all of you. So we're not keeping any of it, but if you want to help the cause, by all means, feel free, and thank you in advance. What is on tap for this evening, he says as he drinks a beer.
Tonight we have how the other half lives, basically. So, we're a car podcast. We love lists. We love to rank. We love to create top however so many's. But today we're doing the worst of the worst. We're going to build a list of the 10 worst cars from the new millennium. So something that has to be produced in the 2000s, and it has to be sold in America. So
America.
No Renaults, no scapegoating, any French cars. Has to be sold in America.
No seats?
No Seats, correct.
No seats? If folks have been listening since the beginning, they can probably, deduce like I have that Andrew has probably put together at least 5 or 6 of worst of episodes at this point.
Worst of? I don't know.
Everything is the worst.
Well, yeah, but that's a personal running total.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as the podcast.
Before we jump into that, well, actually, first off, real quick before we go any further, quick housekeeping. Tesla heat check.
Out, but it's really fun to watch.
I'm unbelievably out, and I have such a good pace lap for that.
And I'm out as well, which leads us into the pace lap.
Oh, man.
Andrew, you're off.
Tesla's so all over the news right now. As we're recording this, today has been a huge day for Tesla. So, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast, but a few months ago, Elon Musk tweeted out that he would take Tesla private when shares hit 420. LOL.
Lol.
And that kind of, there was like a, personal drama, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about any of that. But the SEC got involved because Elon Musk is the chairman and CEO of Tesla. He can't say shit like that in public. So what happened was Musk started the process to take Tesla private. I think he realized how much it was going to cost and realized the difficulty. He backed off. That made his statement fraud.
Yep.
Yes.
So for tracking this, okay.
And especially doubly fraud because it impacted the stock price.
Double
Yes,
fraud.
it did. So, the SEC, known protector of rich white people, offered him a deal. They would give him a nominal fine, and they would suspend him for 2 years from all operations at Tesla. That's it. That's a great deal. Elon was all set to accept it, but he couldn't swallow his pride. So, at the 11th hour, he rejected the SEC's deal. They immediately sued him and Tesla. They want to fine the crap out of them, and they want him permanently banned from chairman of any portion of the Tesla company.
Yep. And this is on top of the suit brought by the British diver who is definitely not a pedophile.
There's that, and there's all this other stuff. So, off the heels of that, Tesla's share plummeted 12%. Elon Musk lost $1.2 billion today, and that is not the end. No, it isn't. He's also on Twitter talking about how they're having delivery problems.
Yes.
And he's saying that there are no delivery drivers, there are no delivery trucks, there's a crisis, there's some sort of emergency. And truck drivers are like, nope, you're just not paying us enough to run empty. So here's the thing. After all this buildup, they couldn't make cars. Tesla couldn't make cars. They couldn't produce.
Now they're kind of producing enough that they're trying to ship cars.
And they can't ship
can't.
the cars. So here's the thing. Now, all these Tesla fans are saying, oh, let us help. Let us go do... Because part of the Tesla delivery, they deliver your car, and you get like a training thing, blah, 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 blah. Tesla people who own Teslas and love Tesla saying, let us go do that. Well, there's a problem there. Let's hold off. They're not just doing this out of the kindness of their heart. This means that Elon Musk also has not hired enough salespeople to sell his cars that he can't deliver and that have a hard time being built. Like, this is logistical problems all the way up and down the chain.
I wish we had a camera right there on
Yeah.
how he said that. That was awesome.
What I don't understand, maybe they do. I should maybe
But
research before
why would you hire the salesman if you can't produce, though? They're going to sell what?
Well, that's true, but now they are selling. They do have the product. Now, at this point, what it comes down to is at some point, Elon Musk is going to have to hire somebody. Remember when he thought he could run his whole factory with robots?
and he
right.
ended up having to hire people? Yeah.
And that put them in the, 800, what was that figure that they came short of? 720?
Yeah, some huge number.
Whatever.
Unfathomable.
Yeah.
Like I said, the weird thing for me is why they didn't just decide to push what for a lot of other brands is kind of a luxury. You pay for it a lot of times extra and just do factory delivery.
Yeah. Yep.
The people buying Teslas usually have a lot of money. Now, not necessarily Model 3s. That's the whole point,
Sure.
supposedly. But at least for the Model X and Model S buyers, get those out of the distribution chain and have them come pick them up.
Yeah, exactly. This whole thing has brought...
Except, wait,
What?
that means you'd have to drive them home.
No, you would have to...
You'd have to schedule like a week and a half to get home.
Oh, my God.
Teslas aren't good at road trips.
I didn't think this through.
That's so funny.
Look, I just think, honestly, I think permanently removing him from the chair, any sort of chair or, position of power in Tesla is going to be the best thing that's going to happen to Tesla.
Well, here's something that's really interesting about that. Immediately following this news, blah, blah, okay, so the first wave of articles was about how Tesla lost all this value. The second wave of articles is this pearl clutching. How will Tesla survive without Elon Musk? My thought is this.
They're going to do great
Well, this has brought into focus,
because they're going to bring in someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing.
hopefully, but this has brought into focus the key problem that I have with Tesla. More than anything else, Elon Musk demands that his company succeed in the way he originally envisioned it, which is an actual impossibility.
Right.
So as a result, every time they start to succeed, they have product now. They have stuff to get to people. They have orders and they have product. Hey, this is business. But he completely failed in the logistics and refuses to fix the problem. Even though he just lost 1.2 billion of other people's money off a fine for being an idiot. Okay, whatever. But he won't pay delivery drivers to deliver his cars now that they actually have them because he didn't see it that way.
And that's, I think, the critical difference when a lot of people say to me personally, again, despite any personal issues that either of these people have, like, I don't particularly care for Elon Musk as a person. I don't, honestly, despite my fandom, not a huge fan of who Steve Jobs was as a person either, but I'm a huge fan of who he was as, like, a mind-focused businessman. Mm-hmm. And because he wasn't a businessman, he had a vision, but that vision changed to match reality when he couldn't get reality to distort around him, which he was known to do.
Right.
But when it didn't happen, decisions were made to keep the company rolling, and Elon Musk refuses to do so.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen the way he envisioned it, he refuses to change his plan or to adapt.
So
he makes an excuse and even refuses to say, "Hey, I miscalculated that one a bit." Like he doesn't.
Push
it's
once,
never his fault.
Push twice. Okay, sure. But eventually you have to figure out that the world just isn't that way and move on.
Yeah, so it's not just can Tesla survive without Elon Musk. They may have trouble raising capital, blah, 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 blah. More importantly, they have got to get him out. He's literally torpedoing the company. He's just bringing them down. Every time they succeed a little bit, Musk makes them fail. Get him out.
1 step forward, 9 steps back every time.
Get him out, throw him in one of his boring company pits, see if his arrogance does something underground. Just get him out. Go home and sit at your pool, Elon. Eat a pineapple. I don't know.
I like pineapple.
I love pineapple. Who doesn't like pineapple?
I love pineapple.
Oh, good. You started talking, and I was like, oh, he doesn't like pineapple.
No.
But he does.
You notice the suspense, though. I paused a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
That's my biggest one. I have some other ones, though. Who's got something else?
Well, I wanted to kind of touch on the fact, in motorsports news, everybody's favorite IndyCar driver, James Hinchcliffe. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. Like, he is the most popular driver. Like, everybody loves this dude. He wrote a thought piece, essentially, that got published in Racer Magazine about...
Hinchcliffe's Deep Thoughts TM?
Yeah, probably. About race drivers forming some sort of union. Because... And we could go for days on the ins and outs and the complexities of contracts and all that kind of stuff. But basically what he's looking to do, or what he would like to see, is some sort of insurance policies provided to the drivers by either the teams they drive for or direct from the series. The series IndyCar gives them a little bit, but basically you take one ambulance ride and you use it all up.
I believe the technical term is pittance.
Basically.
Here's your shekels.
And the even more complicated part is the minimum salary, because a lot of these guys bring in the sponsorship dollars themselves, so each contract they sign is super unique. But he's calling for some sort of pay scale. He's calling for a little more protection than what they currently have. And he's noting he does acknowledge the fact that, yes, IndyCar does not have the money like the NFL or the NBA or even Formula One does. But in essence, they're all out there for people's entertainment. They're playing a sport or participating in a sport for people's entertainment, putting their bodies on the line for other people's entertainment. And compared to other sports, race drivers get damn near nothing.
For the most part.
For the most part. I mean, big name, like, yes, Lewis Hamilton in Formula One, he makes $50 million a year. He's fine.
Most of Formula One, I think, they probably... Well, I don't know. What about the bottom of the Formula
One? Certainly the big names,
pile?
too. I don't know about the bottom.
A lot of them are actually state-sponsored.
Oh, really?
Like, Sergei Sirotkin runs for Williams. He's sponsored by Russia. Russia funds his ride.
Wow.
Sergio Perez, who actually made it on merit, he's a damn good race driver, but when he first came in... I don't think Mexico the state, but Carlos Slim was behind him, which is basically Mexico the state. So, I mean, a lot of them, I mean, if it's not Ferrari, Red Bull, or Mercedes, odds are there's going to be some sort of sponsor help from a driver.
Sure.
Now, their cut of, per race deal, per diems and all that kind of stuff per race in Formula 1 is way different. I think the average going rate is like $1 million a race for a driver over there.
Yeah.
But
they don't make that much here. They just don't.
They just don't. But anyway, it's an interesting thought piece. Go look it up because it'll bring to light a lot of things that racing drivers don't get compared to other sports.
You probably think they do.
You probably thought they did, and it's going to open your eyes to what they actually don't get. And this isn't something that's going to happen in Hinch's career. It may not even happen in his lifetime because it's going to take a lot to move it forward. But it's good to bring it out there and start the discussion.
Yeah, we'll post the link to that in the show notes.
Yeah,
for everybody. You can just link to it right from the episode and take a read.
Absolutely. Anything else before we jump into this?
I had a very boring week car-wise, so not me.
One thing I have to point out, last episode, I called Toyota out for saying that the Supra couldn't have a manual because the gearbox was blah, blah, just too torquey. They're saying it could get a manual now. So I called that a lie. That's a lie. So, yeah, they just lied.
Which is part and parcel of, I think, a whole episode we need to have just titled "We Told You So."
Yeah, we're just going to brag about all the stuff that we got right this year.
So far this year. There's going to be a holiday special at the end of the year.
Our yearly wrap-up.
Yeah, there you go.
Quick shout out to all the folks who did comment and like the photo album that accompanied the car stereotype episode. We got a lot of traction on that one. We got a new stereotype that we missed from one listener. We got clear, concrete confirmation that the PT Cruiser is the official car of florists. So that's awesome, guys. Thanks so much for...
I told you.
Thanks so much for participating with us on that one.
Yeah, keep it going.
Keep it going, though. We got more albums coming. We got more discussions to come. So let's bounce into this one.
Yeah, so if you remember back to 2 hours ago when we started this, we're talking bad cars sold in America in the new millennium, so from 2000 forward. And, man, we each brought our own list. There was less crossover than I thought, though, frankly.
Yeah, I had feared that we were just going to all come with the same cars.
There was a lot of 2 out of 3.
A lot of 2 out of 3.
Yep.
But, not very many where all 3 of us had the same car.
I mean, we did all have the same car on. We only all 3 of us named one car, so I think we should save that one for last. Sure. I think just numerically, that's the one we think is the worst. But I would like to start us off with a brand new, well, not brand new, one of the newest cars on my list, one of the very worst cars on my list, and one of the worst cars possibly in all of American motoring history, the Chevy Cobalt. So if you get in a Chevy Cobalt, you will die instantly.
Almost like the GMC panel van.
The problem is it's not instantly.
Oh my God.
It's going to be slow and it's going to be painful.
That's extremely true.
Yeah.
So
if you just simply disappeared when you got in one, it might not have been such a big deal.
that's true. Anyways, the Chevy Cobalt was literally a death trap.
Yes.
What was that ignition switch failure?
Yep.
It did actually cause some fatalities. A big lawsuit against GM.
Yep.
Because they knew about this issue during product testing and just didn't fix it.
Didn't do anything about it.
That's the real. Really gets stuck in my craw.
So bad.
Is that they knew, and they literally balance sheeted human lives versus replacing this ignition switch.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go, GM.
It's so bad. There's actually, aside from the dying problem, due to another design flaw, the Chevy Cobalt, and my mom owned one and my wife owned one, they ate front wheel bearings. I mean, you'd go through a wheel bearing in 20,000 miles. They literally destroyed them. Some were on the driver, some were on the passenger. It was just really poorly designed. So you
poor design, or was it a poor supplier?
It was probably poor design because they would just keep replacing them. And, they just, you'd go through another one, you go through another one.
I wonder what happened if we can get somebody out there who tried like an aftermarket wheel bearing and just not the factory
Well,
one.
Here's the twist to the Cobalt that always gets me. So we're talking about base Cobalts here. The Turbo SS Cobalt
Yes.
might be one of the very best American tuner cars ever made. It has none of these problems because everything was a different part than the base.
Exactly.
I mean, as far as bad cars go, if it's killing people,
That's got to be pretty bad.
that's got to be pretty bad,
Yep,
right?
that was on my list as well.
Guess how many they sold though?
How many?
A zillion.
1.014 million units of Chevy Cobalts.
Oh my god. That's way more than I thought. And that car's only in production, like...
Hang on.
Oh, you looked it up.
I did. For a different episode. The episode that never was, actually.
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
6 years, 2005 to 2010.
Ooh.
So 1 million divided by 6.
It's a number.
Certainly lots of numbers.
It is a number.
Wow.
We are not a math podcast.
That's so many cars.
Ton of cars for as bad as it was.
And
So
they all got recalled.
I was gonna say, that means after the recalls and after all this shit, people still kept buying them.
Well, and the crazy thing is not just like, okay, great, you have one defect that wasn't caught. It was caught.
It was
and
caught.
B, otherwise they were just, other than like you mentioned, like the SS, they were just uninspired cars that were flaky in a lot of other ways too. I remember we were driving in your mom's Cobalt one
Yeah.
time, and it was winter, it was cold, but it was not snowy, and the ABS would go off for no reason.
Oh, yeah. You put a 1/4 inch on the pedal, and it'd go...
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the most excitable ABS.
Yeah.
I almost crashed going down a driveway. in that
because
car.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
couldn't
it's-
brake.
Yeah, and so lots of other weird things with that car that made it just not very pleasant to drive in, even if it wasn't dangerous.
It's a piece of crap. Who's got a piece of crap worse than that?
I don't know if it's worse, but I'm just we're talking recalls and we're talking GM, so I'm gonna monkey pile on GM for a second here.
Let's do it.
It's all
And
gang up.
This is one I think was on a couple people's lists.
It was mine and yours, I believe.
This vehicle is known as the Chevrolet HHR.
Dun dun dun.
Do you know what that stands for?
I know.
It stands for something?
It does, the Heritage High Roof.
Shut up. No, it doesn't.
It does.
Ugh.
That's
Heritage
dumb.
of what?
Of like the little like woody panel
the old
trucks.
woody panel.
Yeah.
That's the Heritage. Anyway, Chevy HHR
Terrible.
was GM's answer to the Chrysler PT Cruiser.
If you have to answer that.
We just spoke about that one as being one of the unsexiest, worst cars ever
And
on
it so
a
is.
prior episode. And Chevy decided to say, hey, we need us one of those.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, it
Gotta
came out.
score that market.
Yeah. Also, it took them 5 years
Right.
after the release of the PT Cruiser to actually launch it.
So to what, like 06 or 07?
Whenever it was,
Yeah.
I don't know. And you, you want to talk about recalls?
Yes.
The most recalled vehicle in history.
What?
They sold just mind-bogglingly, they sold just under 1 million of these.
No, they didn't.
They were all rental
were-
cars.
They were
I can tell you that.
they were on. Take a guess. How many rental car? Damn it, Kristen. Recall notices was the HHR a part of?
I feel like 6 is a lot.
6 what?
6 recall notices for one model.
Well, I think this must have been like an individual recall notice. So like, if there was a recall notice, it was all of them.
Right,
For
no, but
each issue.
I feel like 6 individual issues would be a lot for.
I'm not talking about the issues. I'm talking about the number of notices.
I don't even know.
How many pieces of paper do they mail to owners?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
6.2 million.
So it was about 6 per
Oh,
car.
I got you. So about
Yeah.
6 per car.
Six
I
per
got
car. 6.2 million recall notices went out from General Motors just for the HHR.
Now, bear in mind, in my research for the HHR also, where I learned that it was the Heritage High Roof, I one of those things you vaguely recall that, like, oh yeah, it was that, but I didn't remember until I looked it up again.
I had no clue. Didn't know it stood for anything.
All we're really talking about is 2 different kinds of cobalt.
Oh my god.
It's
were-
on the same platform.
They're built on the
isn't it?
same platform.
Wow. What
So-
was the name of that platform?
I
The
was
shit.
it was the same as the like
GM
the
trash
G5, the Ion, and the Astra. It was the
You're naming some pretty desperate cars there.
GM Delta platform,
Delta platform. Wow.
GMT001.
Please tell me it's not still in production today.
No, yes,
Platform
actually,
or the HHR?
Yes, it is. The platform.
the platform is, and that's all the way through the like
The Cruise?
I believe it's the current
Probably
Cruise.
the Cruise.
Yeah.
Same car.
Probably. Although the Cruise made some
Yeah, Chevy Cruise,
improvements.
Astra K, the Volt, the Buick Envision,
Oh my gosh, the Volt.
the Equinox, and the Terrain.
Those are all cars you will die in.
Hey,
At least have a history of dying.
my family's got an Equinox. That's not terrible.
A newer one?
Yeah.
And we drove that one to...
Not terrible.
And we drove that one to
We
Road
rented
Atlanta.
one to Road Atlanta.
Drove it all the way to Georgia and lived.
It's not terrible.
Came back. I just remember the light inside the center console on that thing is like the sun.
Yeah, you open it and there's a sun inside.
Comes standard. A sun
Yeah.
comes standard.
It's like the end of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
You at night you do go blind.
Great. Mm-hmm. Convenient.
Hence Death Machine. Anyway, Tristan, you're up.
Alrighty. So, for me, let's take a slight dodge just to the left.
Don't.
Are you gonna say a Dodge now?
No.
Are you gonna say a Chrysler?
Yes.
There. Okay.
I'm going to say it is actually not either of those. It's all the same family, though. I'm going to say the Jeep Compass.
Oh, wow.
And
What's wrong with that?
for me-
Everything was wrong with
yeah.
that.
So I try to keep my list to things that I had either driven or been driven in. So, for example, the HHR previously was on my list because, I'd driven one in one as a rental car where you could actually just, by lightly breathing upwards, you could make the roof panels pop up and down. It was just horrifying. But, yeah, the first generation Jeep Compass, 2007 to 2017. It's
What?
a 10-year car.
How bad could it have been if it ran for 10 years?
Well, it's related to something we're going to talk about later.
Okay.
It's on the same platform as the Caliber.
Oh, no.
So that tells you how bad it is. I test drove one when I was looking at my first SUV back before I ended up getting the 4Runner, actually. And I test drove that. I test drove a Patriot, which is the same platform, by the way. The Patriot and the Compass are on the same platform, which I simply cannot believe. Because the Compass has the worst interior of any car I've ever seen. Not just, we've talked about, for example, like early generation Hyundai Accents.
Ugh.
Like they were just so boring that they tried to kill you. They weren't necessarily actually bad.
I guess.
They were just boring. The interior of the Jeep Compass was the worst cloth, the worst plastic, the worst ergonomics, and the switches had no feel. You'd push them and they'd rock, but there was no click, there was no tactile feedback, and the engine and transmission were possibly the worst thing I had ever experienced.
Up to that point.
Yes. And it was just... It was a... There were lots of different versions of it. The current one, I believe, actually has a CVT, which I would have preferred, because it was like a 5 or a 5-speed, I think, 5-speed automatic that you could read a book between gears. Like, I am no professional in my current vehicle, but I execute Richard Hammond-esque snap gear changes compared to the transmission in this car. Like, it was underpowered. The transmission cannot even be defined as slush box. The interior was devastating. And the weirdest thing, the thing I hated about the most, of all the other things I've mentioned that would kill a car for me just now, the sight lines.
You hate this car more than anything.
I do. And I think
He hates this as much as he loves the Honda Element.
that's just being a liar.
One of the best cars.
Stop lying. And I fear that this is the shadow that looms over the current Cherokee. But we'll see.
The current Cherokee?
Yep, but we'll see.
No.
Wait. But I mean, they make smaller Jeeps than the Cherokee. It wouldn't have to be like the Renegade or
No, I
something?
know, but the same characteristics.
Oh,
Iffy transmission, underpowered, poor sight lines, weird
Interesting.
interior design. It's an echo of the Compass to me. The old Compass. Now, the new Compass, forget about it. That's a lovely vehicle.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Well, it took them what? How long?
10 years. Yep.
10 years.
Yeah. So
I finally got it.
yeah. But yeah, that's my entry. Our first foray into Mopar.
I'm going to touch on it quick because it was also on my list, and one of the points that I was going to bring up if I got to talk about it was Jeep's whole thing is their, backcountry, off-road, all those types of things.
Moab.
Getting stoked for Moab, bro.
More or less, depending on the model. But
Right. The Compass did not come with a four-wheel option.
At all?
It's not
Ever?
standard.
Not standard.
Not standard.
Yeah.
You go on wet grass, you're done.
Well, the Renegade doesn't come with that either. Standard. It's available.
This thing had zero off-road capability. Four-wheel drive or otherwise.
And
That's a thing for them now.
And it was the first Jeep, I believe, that, although it got there eventually, a double check, I think it did after the first few years, was not announced with a trail rated badge.
Right.
Which means that even the wizards who do this type of thing, who take any piece of junk Jeep will produce and throw it down the Rubicon Trail and say, "Oh, got it," it could not earn a trail rated badge for the first, I think, 3 or 4 years it was in production.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's the thing they built their brand on. That's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, comparatively...
Like I said.
Comparatively, even the Patriot and the Renegade they look like mountain goat off-roaders compared to this thing.
Maybe it's been a while since I've seen one or something.
Look it up, man.
Or maybe I was picturing a Patriot.
Maybe.
Anyways.
All right, you're up. Round 2.
I got a really quick one. Because there's not much that needs to be ew. He's showing me a picture of of the Compass. It's gross to me.
It's gross to me, too.
It's gross to everybody.
But here's a quick one that we can just mention, and I don't think we even have to go that in depth on it. One of the worst cars ever made, Smart 4.2. It's pointless. It actually got worse gas mileage than a Prius. It's impractical. It's ugly, and
And it's not all that well done. It's not reliable.
No, it's just terrible in all ways.
Yeah, it's... Imagine things that you would buy a car for
Groceries.
and know that it has none of them. Reliability,
Wanna get
speed,
groceries.
fuel efficiency.
We can park 3 of them in the bedroom that we're recording in right now.
That's true. And then what? Then we'd have 3.
Yeah, we have 3.
We have to get rid of
One for
them.
each of us. Here's the... I think it's on everybody's list.
Is it?
Although I do like the one they paint him to look like the little Tykes cars.
That is kind of
That
funny.
does amuse me deeply.
I like that very much.
And they're
funny.
excellent to throw a Hayabusa motor in.
I'm not. No,
No,
we're not talking
we're not-
about
we're
that.
not getting
So
into that.
Stupid.
Shut up.
The base price on that is about $12,000. The convertible is $17,000.
Whew. They took away the roof and gave you to demand $5,000 of your dollars.
It is less of a car than the one that can fit inside your pantry, and they charge you $5,000 more
Those
dollars.
convertibles are more expensive, to be fair.
$17,000 for a 100-inch car without a roof? Are you kidding me?
Listen, if you don't get the convertible, how are you going to put your grocery bags in it? If you get a watermelon in a regular Smart,
How would
are you
Nick
getting
fit
that
in
home?
it at all?
I would like to see that. Do any of our listeners own a Smart? I want to see Nick
I will
get in a
happily
Smart.
try to crawl into
Fold
a
himself
Smart
into
4.2
That'd be great.
on camera. For the YouTube page and for the Facebook and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
But anyways, I mean, it's awful. And the thing about the Smart is like it had this wave. It's like, oh, it's a car of the future. Dude. And it was just awful. And no one wants that future.
Can you do the rest of the episode in that voice?
No.
No.
It's my Bob Dylan.
How does it feel to drive a Smart for 2?
God.
All right, my turn.
Yeah.
Yes. Save me.
I'm trying to. I think I'm gonna go. We're gonna go over to Korea for this next one,
All right.
and we're going to nominate the Kia Amante.
I don't even know.
It's their
What that
first
is.
shot at a Genesis.
Uh-oh.
It was their first shot at their first shot at a bigger 4-door full size American sedan, and it was ridiculously awful. The base price was $26,000, so for a 4-door big sedan, it wasn't.
Not bad.
It wasn't a bit terrible. That might have been the best thing about it. You get what you pay for. The biggest problem with this one was how heavy it was. It was 4,100 pound curb weight.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
One of the reasons why is that the V6 they put in it was an iron block,
Well, that explains it.
not
Everything,
aluminum,
basically.
iron block, and it only produced 260 horsepower.
Imagine crashing that into any other car.
Do you want a block in your lap? That's what's going to happen.
It's just
The momentum alone, you're just gonna destroy if you. Oh man, that'd be bad.
Because of the weight and the fact that it was underpowered, it drove just slushy and terrible. It was like it handled lazier than like a elephant on Percocet.
I like that.
It was just Tristan. You rode in one in San Francisco, right?
I started off saying that, but I'm no longer sure that it was in fact an Amante.
They had another weird.
It was a
luxury car.
large Kia.
Well, yeah, they had
That's all I remember.
They had like some XG thing too, didn't they, Kia?
Yeah, something like that. Now, bear in mind, talking about driving in them, this is a luxury four-door sedan with the curb weight of a modern F-150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big, not a boat, like an iron block.
It's literally like driving around a block of iron.
Yeah,
That's
literally.
exactly what it was.
So, no, I cannot necessarily promise it wasn't a Monte, but it was a large Kia, and we were in San Francisco, and you could not get it to start on a hill. You'd be parked at a stoplight in San Francisco looking at the sky, because that's what happens in San Francisco, and you take your foot off the brake, you put the foot on the gas, and it just revs and doesn't go anywhere. And that was the first time I'd ever seen that happen. I was riding in it at the time. My dad was driving it, and I went, "What do you mean it doesn't go up the hill?"
What are we gonna do?
So it was terrifying, actually, at the time. I'd never seen a car make that much noise and not go anywhere.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It probably was that, because
Just because of the weight.
Would definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, this was like still kind of early Kia, so I think we can all say now Kia's
Better.
for the price is a pretty good car.
We drove that Optima down to Austin a few years ago, and that was
Great.
a great car.
But this was earlier Kia, their first runs. It was still pretty cheap interiors. This was before they hired everybody away from Audi.
Exactly.
So this was before they realized, hey, we can't do this. We need some help.
Goofy headlights on the Amante, by the
So
way.
goofy.
Is that the one that
As-
looks like the Jaguar, the old Jags?
Yeah, kind of.
It's kind of like a Jag knockoff, yeah.
Like little circles, little circle headlights.
Yep.
Oliver People's glasses.
Yeah.
That's an obscure reference.
It is. I didn't get it.
The little round ones.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Tristan, you're nominee number 2.
All right. What should I choose from my list? Let's stay in Asia. I'm going to bring up a vehicle that has personally offended me. The Mitsubishi Outlander.
Ah, yes.
Ooh.
Again, in that
Yes.
same period, when I was investigating a possible SUV for motorcycle towing and other things, I went to the one Mitsubishi dealer that I could ever think of.
It's just sitting there
I
in
think
the
there
corner.
might only be one around
to be.
here. And I test drove it, and it was uninspired. And the interior was kind of meh. Didn't have a lot of power. But
So what offended you about it? I mean, that just
Here's-
seems like a normal
here,
review.
here you go. Here's what comes next. They were so underwhelming and underloved that they were not selling. And whether this is the car or maybe the person, I can't differentiate the two. That car was so bad and sold so poorly that I test drove it and went, I kind of like it, especially if I can get it really cheaply. Will you cut me a deal? And also, is there an option for a trailer hitch? And the guy said, yeah, we'll definitely see what we can do on price. You know, we want to move them. Let me see what we can get on the price for you. And also, there's not a trailer hitch option. It's not rated for towing, but we'll put a hitch on it for you.
That's funny. I was there. I was there for this. I witnessed this.
Like, really?
So it's not rated for towing, but they're gonna let you tow with it anyway.
Just because they wanted to move it off the lot.
I'm fully supporting this pick because even now,
I'm just trying to gather the facts. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I don't
Yeah,
support
well, I'll
it.
bet you even now that same Outlander, the blue one
That I
we
test
looked
drove
at,
4 years ago is still
sitting-
there.
It has to be because last time I checked, that exact dealership was running like 10 to 12,000 off on 2-year-old models, brand new. They still sitting on the lots. They still had 15s because this was earlier in the year. So
Yeah.
they still
Yeah.
had 15s on the lot.
Yeah, so that's...
They're out there running their Rocktober event, rolling into Rockvember.
No one is buying. No one's buying them.
Yeah, and I don't think it's because they are...
all these deals.
And I don't think it's because they are, just like they're a victim of advertising or anything else. I think you can put any, and the much maligned, we as a podcast really don't care for them, but you can put any other modern CUV, crossover, SUV, whatever you want to call them, against the Outlander, and it loses every time.
Yeah, because it has no distinguishing features.
Yeah.
At all. It's bad.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, so many choices. Let's do a 2-for-1.
Uh-oh.
First, one based on name and also because of the fact that it was a terrible car. So the Sebring, the Chrysler Sebring, must be a cursed name because it's been around. I don't know if that's an old name or whatever, but they made it in the 90s. And it was terrible. I think at that point, that was the most recalled car. Mm-hmm. And
At
just
that
problems.
time.
And then GM said, hold my beer.
Right. Yeah. Well, then they kept,
Watch this.
They kept that name for a new generation of car, Chrysler Sebring. So boring, and it was terrible. I think Jeremy Clarkson reviewed it as his least favorite car ever.
The convertible.
The convertible.
Is that the one with the weird ribbed hood?
Yes.
Yeah.
For no reason?
Yeah,
Yes.
and he calls it the worst car ever made.
The worst car ever made. But it had here's the thing. He didn't know this. That car had a twin. And it was called the Dodge Avenger. And I think the two of them are bad. The Dodge Avenger is the worst of the two because they took what was wrong about the Sebring, which was everything, and they made it into a Dodge and gave it dumb features and just it's so you see it on the road and you just lose all hope.
Is this because you're such a Viper fan that you're just mad that they brought something to the Dodge badge?
I just happen to kind of like Vipers. It's not like I'm a huge stand for Dodge.
Yeah, I rode in and drove occasionally a Dodge Avenger when my mom rented one to visit me up at school. And yeah, I can tell you, it's the whole thing at the time felt oddly antiquated.
Yeah, they've always felt old.
Right away. It was a brand new rental model, and it felt old. Mm-hmm. It creaked.
Yes.
It wasn't bolted together very well. it had a 4-speed auto.
Yep, and well, this car was like, what, 06, 07, something
Yeah,
like that?
I mean, to be fair, my 2004 Grand Cherokee had one of those, but it's also not supposed to be refined or anything near a sports car.
Right.
I mean, you can get away with that because it's like, oh, it has to only have 4 gears. It's got to keep it simple, got to keep it tough, whatever. This is supposed to be, nominally a mid-size sports sedan,
Yep.
more or less.
Well, they made a hot version.
Heat.
It was literally called
The Heat, yes.
It's the Heat.
On the bright side, it came with a cooler in the glove
It
compartment.
did, which is part. You were alluding to odd features.
Uh-huh.
And it had the cool zone.
It had the
No, chill zone. I thought.
Chill zone. Oh my God, it was
Chill
Chill
zone.
Zone.
Where you could get 4 12-ounce cans to 40 degrees. It also had heated and cooled
I was gonna say,
cup
it also like
holders.
heated cup holders. That's so
And cooled.
dumb and cooled.
Man, if you got that wrong with like a soda or something.
Put your soda in the heated cup holder. Ruined.
Right. And maybe in the cold one too. They don't really like being cold either. Ah, man, it's just the thing about those two cars is that they both Chrysler and Dodge were obviously trying, but they did not have a single clue what they were doing. So they did all of the wrong things.
It epitomizes the clueless nature of Mopar at the time.
I don't think you need the at the time qualifier. I got another one for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I have.
It's fine.
I think the Avengers segues nicely into my next pick, which is actually the Pacifica.
What's wrong with those? I actually like the look of them.
So here's the thing. My list has some odd qualifiers, because I kind of kept myself to things I've driven in and other things like that, but the Pacifica is because it was so crushingly disappointing.
Have you driven one or been in one?
We rented one. Actually, we rented one in New Jersey when we went to go pick up my Audi from out there and drive it back.
Yeah.
The station wagon, and it was a great car. My dad and I loved the Pacifica.
All right.
I thought it looked good. I thought it drove well. It was interestingly styled. Had a ton of utility. The problem is, it never stayed a great car. Absolutely plagued by rust. And never, and I swear,
Plagued by rust.
I swear they never finished assembling any of them.
Maybe.
They all have parts falling off. If you see them,
No, I have legitimately not seen one for a
that's
couple
the
years.
thing. I would have to look and see how well they sold, but they were everywhere for a while.
Yeah.
And then they're just gone. Because they all turned into little piles of rust.
It just came outside and you just had wheels.
Yeah. Yep. And if you didn't buy the alloys, you didn't have those either. So
You just had tires.
yeah, exactly. And that's the crushing part about it, and that's why I count it as a bad car, because it was a stroke of almost prescient genius on the part of Chrysler, and then they just couldn't do it.
Apparently that's
That's
their thing.
because the Pacifica lives on. Actually,
Isn't it a van now?
it's a van, but actually in a different company. It lives on as the Toyota Venza.
Which is dead.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yes, but that's where it went. That's where its inheritance went.
It's like a wagon style.
It's like a wagon van.
SUV,
Yeah. And
A WAN.
that's something else. And we I said it was such a great, like, oh hey, because my dad's a huge Mopar fan too. He's like, oh,
That's unfortunate.
He's like, oh hey, like maybe they actually made something pretty good, and then they just all disappeared because they couldn't actually, I don't know, galvanize them properly or whatever.
Look out for a Chrysler Pacifica out there somewhere.
I guess poor build quality is
Exactly.
your...
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it was a very well designed car. It was not a very well executed car, which makes it a terrible car.
Well, speaking of poor build quality, let's talk about British engineering, shall we?
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
for it.
So my next nominee, as we kind of looped the order there,
Yeah.
if anyone's like really paying attention on their scorecards at home, I apologize. My next car is the Jaguar X-Type from the early 2000s.
I'm sorry, I thought you said we were talking about British engineering.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. See what you burn. Tss, got it. Okay.
Okay, but wait. I mean, what's wrong with that car? Isn't that the same? The X-Type, isn't that the one that Jeremy Clarkson drove for like 500 miles, the diesel one?
No.
No.
No? Mm-mm. What was that?
Not
Something
that
else.
You don't know.
one. Not that one.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't that X-Type. Maybe it was a new one.
Maybe it was a newer one. Well, and look, we'll just get that out of the way now. Jaguar in the last, say, 6-8 years-ish has made a fantastic comeback with their cars.
A shocking one.
Yes, I agree.
As soon as they got out of the umbrella from Ford.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were a premium brand. Like, Jaguar was a big status symbol. Then Ford bought them, and they kept the label, the cat hood ornament, and just made Fords. And
That's what I meant by my joke earlier.
yeah,
So this was...
this was a Ford Mondeo. But it was badged as a Jaguar. It's supposed to be this high class status symbol, and it was it was ugly. It had the Ford the
little glasses.
the little 4-eyed glasses look on it that was
that
really
the Kia
dumb.
stole, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Kia-
seriously.
Yeah, the Kia stole the Jaguar look
Absolutely.
when Ford owned Jaguar, and yeah, you get the idea. But they jacked the price up simply because of the badge. The inside was a Ford. There wasn't like any better quality leather or any better quality sound system or any better features as far as handling, or they didn't put any trick suspension, or they didn't put a different, better quality engine in it. It was just a Mondeo that was badged as a Jaguar, and it was a fraud. That's all it really was. It was a fraud.
Because it's fraudulent. That's why you hate it.
Yeah, that's why I hate it. That's why I hate the Jaguar X-Type.
So wait, if I'm counting right, that should be... Is that 9 then?
I have
total?
got 1, 2, 3,
We've each
4,
done 3,
5,
so
6,
that
7,
would
8, and that's 9.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, all right.
We've come to number 10.
Come to number 10 or number 1, and I think this is absolutely my vote for the worst car of this millennium so far. I hate it so much, and everyone should hate it too. It's the Chevy Aveo, while we continue the shit on Chevy party. The most horrendous, appalling, desperate, awful contraption ever placed on 4 wheels.
But
Uh-oh.
you're talking about the shitting on Chevy party. This wasn't a Chevy. It was a Chevy badge, but GM did not design this car.
Who designed the Chevy Aveo? Drop some knowledge on me.
You guys remember Daewoo?
Oh my god!
It was in fact the Daewoo Lanos.
Oh my god, he's right. Holy shit.
So before we do the shit on Chevy party again, remember that this was a Daewoo. It wasn't actually a Chevy.
But don't they still have the same platformer? Aren't they still using it in the Sonic?
That I'm not sure.
I don't know, because obviously, they rebadged the Aveo as the Sonic, because that was a name they had in a different country, and they're like, oh wait, no one's buying the Aveo, because it's fucking terrible.
Yes,
Change
it
name.
markets the new Aveo under the Chevrolet Sonic nameplate in the U.S.,
Bam.
Canadian, Mexican, Colombian, Argentinian, Brazilian, Chilean, Japanese, Israeli, Middle Eastern, South African.
So the whole world.
Australia, New
worldwide.
Zealand.
Just say internationally, dude.
Well, there's some places they don't.
Name one. The North Pole.
Yeah, Antarctica? Yeah,
Silly
get
Aveo.
it.
Korea and Europe. They do it as ding ding. They do it as an Opel.
Sonorous.
Opel in Europe.
Really? An Opel Aveo?
Probably. I'd have to take a look.
Hey, you guys know what Aveo means?
I don't want to. What does it mean?
To go.
This is the ironic part of this whole thing. Like, it is something that nobody wants, everybody hates. Aveo is Latin for desire.
Yikes. Yikes. I mean, so what we're talking about here is a subcompact hatchback / sedan, I think they made. Everything, well, I mean, you talked about the Compass having the lowest quality everything. There's actually a standard below that, and that's what they use in the Aveo. I drove one as part of when I worked in parking at Nebraska. One of the cars we had was the Aveo. And it was so unbelievably bad. There'd be a bunch of us out driving around. People would take the PT Cruisers ahead of the Aveo. If you got there late, you got stuck in the Aveo. They would take we got an electric Mitsubishi. People would take that and get stuck on the far end of campus rather than take the Aveo. It was that they would have to walk back. If you got stuck, you had to walk back. They would do that rather than drive the Aveo.
Rental car companies didn't even rent the Aveo because there were so many issues with it too.
It's so bad.
Awful.
Yeah. Yep. Even the revamped Sonic, I got a chance to drive one of those, and they made it better, but
Let's hope.
I mean, the styling is better.
yeah, but it still is just monumentally underpowered.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I went down to a state park in Illinois, and it was actually very similar to the Kia. I was going uphill, and it had a CVT, and it was like when a go-kart goes uphill, and it just goes, wah, and you're going like 2 miles an hour. It was like that. The CVT was wide open,
It's gotta be frightening.
trying to get this thing to go uphill, and it was going barely. And that was a little scary.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, to me, It's kind of funny to say, we had like the Cobalt with the deaths and whatever else, but the Aveo's worse.
Probably worse than death.
Worse than death.
The Chevy Aveo, a fate worse than death.
Worse than death.
And if you drive a Chevy Aveo, what's wrong with you? Burn it.
We're also very sorry
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
that they drive one.
No, they should still burn it.
Do we want to sneak in some honorable mentions?
There's one that we haven't mentioned yet that we have to. As long as we're just shitting on GM. I'm going to just say it.
Yeah,
and
don't give knowing looks.
I'm just going to say it, and then we don't even need to talk about it because everyone's going to be like,
Oh yeah.
Pontiac Aztec.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Nominations. There's one that neither of you mentioned. I've been just sitting on here waiting, continuing the shit on GM party.
Oh, boy.
Here's a vision for you. Here are 2 words that will evoke some feelings, excite your emotions. Pontiac Sunfire.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because I know someone, and you know who you are, that really wants one of those.
No, they don't.
Yes.
No, they don't. They think they want one. Okay, listen.
And I don't necessarily.
But you're going to tell them why they
I don't
don't.
necessarily disagree.
What? It's literally a Cavalier, but worse. That's what they did. They took a Cavalier, they took out all the expensive pieces, expensive meaning plastic, replaced them with worse plastic.
Was it made out of wood?
Maybe.
Cloth.
That could be why it's so unreliable. It may have had wooden cylinders. I can't discount the possibility. Why do they want a Sunfire?
I don't know.
I'm beside myself.
I like the way it looks personally. I'm out on this one.
I can't even.
That never crossed my mind for
Yeah.
a worse
Really?
car. Nope.
Ah.
Neither did the Cavalier, actually.
Yeah.
Weirdly, you think one of us would have brought the Cavalier?
I
I
don't-
had Cavalier on here.
See,
until
and I don't
remembered
have a
the
problem with the
Sunfire.
Cavalier either.
Cavalier got bumped out.
They were pretty bad. Objectively, they were pretty
I
bad.
don't think they were any worse than the other stuff that was out in the market at the time, though.
The 90s were a bad time.
Yeah.
And I
it
don't
was-
think
it
they're
was
any
dark
worse
years.
than anything else we've named.
No.
No. We
No.
got a list of worst cars here. For
Oh,
sure.
yes.
Like,
Also, in the same vein of, we have to mention it, but there could be worse. Also GM. Our pal Ziggy.
Ziggy,
The Catera. The
animated duck.
the Cadillac Catera with the animated duck mascot.
man.
It's the caddy that zigs.
It's the caddy that zigs. And God, who did they have in the ad campaign for that? They had animated duck, and
It was a supermodel.
it was a supermodel.
I remember the commercials. I don't remember who it
Yeah,
was.
I know. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, it was just supposed to be like. I don't know. I still don't know what they were doing.
I think they were marketing it as a more European sport luxury sedan. It was front rear.
It was front rear wheel drive.
Front rear. Eventually, they put a solid set of springs on it.
Eventually.
But it was just like, that's like saying someone finally put butter on some mashed potatoes. Like, otherwise, like, okay, sure, filling, a staple. I happen to love mashed potatoes, but they're not exciting.
No.
And butter only makes them marginally less boring.
Yes.
So,
I don't even bother putting butter on my mashed potatoes.
Gravy, straight for the gravy.
Oh, straight for the gravy.
yeah, but that would have been like if they had put on like a turbocharged 6 and a sport suspension.
True.
Like that, that would have been putting gravy on the mashed potatoes.
I have 2 things about that car. First, yes, it's awful. Second, it looked like the Impala of the time. So what?
Yeah, kind of.
I always thought that it was based on the Impala.
Are you dying?
Thanks, Rick. I always thought it was based on an Impala. I didn't even know it was rear-wheel drive. Oh, and also, could we? You know what? I'm just doing this.
I'm just doing
Let's
this.
all blame the Catera for GM's hesitancy to bring back or produce front rear cars. Because they did the Catera, and they're like, oh, I guess it doesn't work. So they didn't bring over the, we only got the Pontiac G8s and the SS for a couple of years, and they don't really ever market them well. They don't do anything.
The G8 was pretty good car.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, does that hesitancy all come back to the Catera? Yes, it does. I'm saying that it does.
I don't have any I don't want to say that I'm agreeing with you. I just don't, in front of me, I don't have any evidence to the contrary.
Facts don't matter. Facts don't matter.
That's right, we're not professionals.
That's right. That's conclusively. The Cadillac Catera is to blame for everything wrong.
I'll go with it.
What are you looking up there, Tristan?
Trying to see if anything else was related to this platform.
Fascinating listening right now.
Well,
I didn't say you had to stop talking.
I have another nomination. We'll go to the. Wait.
Did you run through them all?
I have one more, and it's a reference to what I said before about FCA and about how they had trouble making cars. But this is another set of twins, similar to the Sebring and the Avenger.
Okay.
This is new FCA. They're supposed to be good. The Chrysler 200 and the Dodge Dart. So they're the same car. They're the same car. What FCA
They
did...
are. I actually regularly cannot distinguish the two.
Well, one is slightly longer. That's the two. So basically what Fiat did when they bought Chrysler and they said, we need new cars. Let's grab a Fiat Panda, which is kind of a compact that they have in Europe. They stretched it and made a Dodge Dart. Then they stretched that and widened it and made the Chrysler 200. So the exact same car, exact same underpinning, exact same engines. They're unreliable, they're uncomfortable, they're not fun, and they can't sell. So the Dodge Dart was stopped in 2015. The 200 in 2016. You can still buy both of those cars brand new on lots today. There's 3 200s within 50 miles of here.
Yep.
You want to go get one tonight? Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
Probably
Yeah.
get one pretty cheap.
Well, you know what? They're the new Aleros because they're on lots. I mean, fully loaded, all-wheel drive, V6, leather, this, that, and the other thing. No one wants them.
Yep.
I mean, they're like $17,000.
Well, and the difference, though, is I believe that the Alero was underrepresented. It never got advertised. It never got played up
Yeah,
to the level at which it actually performed.
right.
This is the opposite.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, if we want to shit on FCA for a minute,
Yeah,
I've got one more.
I'm into it.
I don't think we talked about this. The Dodge Caliber.
No, we mentioned we were going to, and then we didn't,
See,
actually.
because I always think it's the same as the Dodge Avenger.
And really, it's actually the same as the Compass, apparently.
It's essentially like a cheap Sebring, but
I mean, kind of. It was a little wagon.
the weird, yeah, a little wagon. The weird part about the Caliber was like, it seems like it is a small car.
It is a small car, yeah.
Like I would have trouble fitting into it. Yet somehow it drives like big, and it's like tough to park and like maneuver in tight spaces. I don't know how they managed to make a small car so huge
Terrible
and
turning
cumbersome. And
so
here's a quick stat. Car and Driver does all their big tests, you know, and they do like the straight line and the dyno and the.
Oh yeah.
They got more. Car and Driver magazine got more grip on the skid pad from a Honda Ridgeline.
Wow. From a high riding
Truck than a Dodge Caliber.
Dodge Caliber.
I don't know whether that says more about the Caliber or the Ridgeline.
Does that mean the Caliber is that bad or the
The
Ridgeline
Ridgeline
is
is
that
actually
good?
really good. I don't know.
What's so funny about that car in my own personal life, my now wife said that she considered that as her first car. I'm like, you realize we never would have started dating if you drove that, right?
That would have been your deal breaker right off the bat?
Oh, you telling me, are you going to lie in front of all these people and say that you would, oh yeah, no, you got a Caliber, I'm cool with it.
I don't think the car that someone drives matters, to be honest with you.
I would make the same effort I would make for the cell phone that they use. Would try to get them a different one
I
as
would
soon
make
as
some
I
pretty
could.
significant, listen, if you're green, I'm out.
Yep. Green bubbles. Green bubbles, I can't handle it.
Let it be known. No green, Nick. We can't ever date. Listen.
Listen.
Really?
Yeah, and back to the Caliber, it is driven by the angriest people.
Because they own a Caliber.
They know.
They cut people off.
They know
They
what it is.
tailgate. It's really noticeable.
It actually is. And you don't see them that often. But you know where I always
Not
notice it?
anymore.
I always notice it in parking lots. Does that seem weird to anybody?
And for me, it's always, because there are a zillion of them on my way to work, roundabouts.
Really?
Yeah, they will just cut right in front of you in a roundabout. And then they will also try to exit through you. They will be on the inside lane of a 2-lane roundabout and try to exit out the right
God.
through you. And then when you honk at them, they flip you off because you're wrong. That's the caliber driver for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's terrible.
All right, guys. So we just named 15 cars.
Yeah.
So it was the top 10-ish.
So let's narrow them down. Let's just run through them quick. Like we all agree, the Avail belongs on the list. There's one.
We all agree HHR.
We all agree HHR. Do we all agree Aztec?
Yes.
Oh yes. Well, actually, we're confirming beforehand. What do you have on your list so we make sure we don't all end up with the same cars? We only have 5 to do. And everyone's like, oh, the Aztec on your list? And Andrew's like, yeah. And Nick's like, yeah. And I'm like, I actually didn't even bother putting it on my list because I figured you guys would have it. So technically, yes, it's on my list.
Barely talked about it, but it is so bad.
It is so bad. Do you know that like when they launched it at the Detroit Auto Show that like they made some sort of weird like music festival scene around it? Like there was like people in like tie-dye wigs and
holding
cowboy
up
hats
signs
holding
and
up
stuff.
signs. It was like a Coachella Burning Man scene they were trying to recreate there. It was like just a disaster.
Right,
Just
for
a
people who
freaking
don't
disaster.
know, it's the car Baldy drives in Breaking Bad.
Walt Whitman?
Sure. Sounds like it could be his name.
Wait, Walter White. That's what it is.
By the way, I've watched that show 3 times. Don't ever at me about it. I don't even know the character names, except for Jesse.
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, so we've got the Aveo, we've got the HHR, we've got the Aztec. How many yes votes do we get for the Compass?
No. It's Tristan's most hated car. I now realize.
Yes, it is, and I think we have to because it is literally just badge engineering. What if we call it the Caliber Compass Twins? Then are you in?
Oh, okay. Then, I'm in on that.
All
Okay.
right. So,
all right.
There's a stipulation. If we can also call it the Caliber,
Because it is the
then
same
the Compass
vehicle.
can go on the list.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
Yep,
absolutely.
So I'm going to put that,
Thank you, God.
and then we're going to put Caliber next to it. Okay.
Avenger and Sebring.
Smart 4.2.
Yes.
Yes,
That's 5.
the Avenger bring.
And the Avenger Sebring.
The Sea Avenger.
The Avenger Sebring is 6.
Cobalt. Oh my God.
Yes.
The Death Trap.
Cobalt is 7. What else we got on here, boys? We've got Caliber's already there. Now it's the ones that we just kind of presented to one another that we didn't have in our lists. Let's go to Outlander.
Yeah. Because that's still in production, and they still can't move them. If you go to your local Mitsubishi dealer, you will see thousands of Outlanders in their natural habitat.
Fields of them.
Which is the dealer lot.
Okay, so this is where it's going to start getting difficult because we've got a lot of options left and there's only 2 spots to go.
All right, hit
so
me with some.
I'm just going to rattle them off. So we
These
know
are the options.
These are the options. Jaguar X-Type, Chrysler Pacifica, Sunfire, Catera, the 200/Dart, or the Kia Amante.
Catera for sure, I think should go on there because, as we now know, that was the root of all GM's problems with rear drive from front engine cars. I have proven that.
I mean, I would put the 200 Dart over the Catera.
I think so.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's fair. Because, they're still sitting there. Just like the Outlander.
Yeah.
It's brand new cars that are 3 years old.
We've talked a lot about people will buy things because they are a car. Mm-hmm. And you can't get people to buy the Outlander or the 200 Dart combo.
That's so true.
And that implies they are a very bad car. Because people will buy bad cars by the thousands. By the millions, in fact.
See the Cobalt.
And say by the millions, in fact, if it's a Cobalt. Yeah.
But yeah, when you can't sell your bad car.
Yep.
1 spot left. X-Type, Pacifica, Sunfire, Catera, Amante.
X-Type?
Yeah, I think due to it being a lie.
Due to it being a lie. And also, when you compare it to Jaguars that followed it even 5 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, I mentioned that earlier. Jaguars made a resurgence like no other. They're great cars now.
And now when you compare that, it's just like, ooh.
That's really
bad.
Wow.
So yeah, okay, X-Type. Definitely.
There it is.
There's
so
our 10.
we've got 10 The 10 worst cars produced since the year 2000, folks. There you have it. I'm sure we're running super long, so
Not too bad.
let's...
Run the list. So let me hear it.
all right. Number 1, Chevy Aveo.
Obviously.
Number 2, Chevy HHR. Number 3, Pontiac Aztec. Is it weird that the top 3
I'm just counting on my fingers here.
are Chevy?
GM here.
All right. Number 4 is the Compass/Caliber twins.
That's Mopar.
Number 5 is the Smart for 2.
Mercedes, technically.
Mercedes, yeah.
Number 6 is the Sebring Avenger duo. Number 7 is the Cobalt. Number 8 is the Outlander. Number 9 is the 200 Dart duo. And number 10 is the X-Type.
Wow, 4 Chevys.
3 Mopars.
1 Ford
And 1 everything
as
else.
the X-Type.
Yep.
Yeah. So no Japanese cars of any kind?
No Japanese cars of any kind. Well, the Aveo was a Daewoo. So that's
just
Korean.
Korean,
That's
yeah.
Korean.
But no Honda, Subarus, Toyotas.
No, I think because
They make pretty decent
they
cars.
at the very least they put them together. They might be uninspiring, they might be bland, but they're not categorically bad cars.
Right.
They might
Definitely.
be uninteresting cars, but they always sell a zillion of them, and they're always bolted together. Well, I mean,
They run forever.
yeah, I mean that's probably why.
I'm just trying to think of whether that's. I mean, it's probably not weird. What's weirder is that there are no 2,000 plus Hyundais. I think you could make a case for like the Tiburon, but while that was kind of a stupid car, it wasn't. You wouldn't die in it.
No,
No.
it doesn't meet a lot of the criteria that.
Right.
And they sold too. They sold like crazy.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did sell a lot. I mean, I am definitely surprised at the complete lack of Hyundai. There's not one. I wouldn't have thought it because
There are any
hey,
Japanese car. Yeah, that's weird.
definitely interesting.
Well, there you have it, folks. If we missed one,
Yeah, please nominate.
nominate your worst cars.
And I think for the audience, we'll open it up to any generation because we started driving in the early 2000s. That's when we could make these
Assumptions.
assumptions and verifications for
Yeah.
ourselves because we
Driven
could
them.
actually drive them. So definitely, for any of you out there listening, anything that is of an age that you could have and have driven it, let us know what your worst cars are.
Worst of the worst. Look forward to hearing from you. Guys, before we sign off, who or what are we thanking?
Oh man, so much going on. I would like to thank the SEC for providing me with limitless
much.
amounts of hilarity. Yeah, it's the SEC.
I would, for a moment, like to get cheesy. I'd like to thank any of you who are still listening. This thank you session is something that we just said, hey, we should do this. And I know there are at least a couple listeners who have said, no, man, I listened all the way to the end because some of the funniest stuff happens when you're thanking people. So any of you who are still here, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would like to thank Daewoo
No, you wouldn't.
for being clever and making shitty cars that other people can take the fall for.
He blew my mind with that.
Yeah, props to Daewoo for convincing Chevy that they could sell one of those.
Say what you want about Daewoo. They had a damn good salesman.
What other Chevys are Daewoos? Is this a conspiracy?
I think that might be the only one.
I think it's the only one.
I don't even know.
So thanks to Daewoo.
Are they still around? Is that still a company?
I don't think so.
Can't imagine.
They're not making cars. They might be making forklifts or something else, but I don't know.
Sure.
Thanks to Daewoo, thanks to the SEC, thanks to those of you who stay long enough to listen to the thank yous, and thanks to everybody else who tunes in at any point in time for listening. Can't thank you enough for your support, and we cannot wait to talk to you again. Take care of each other. Good night.
Good night.